Welcome to 17 Strong. Victories don't come by accident. Here's your host, Steve Teixeira.
Thanks, Andy. Welcome to another 17 Strong podcast. I'm your host, Steve Teixeira, along with my beautiful wife, Holly. Hi, babe.
Hi, how are you?
I'm excited about today.
I am too. We've been talking a little bit before.
Yeah, we have. I hope all the stories didn't come out already.
No. I'm sure he's got a list over there.
We have some very, very special guests and very close to Ryan. Ryan loved them both dearly. Why don't you have the
Okay, we
honor.
have, head football coach that when Ryan was there, Tom Goossen, and Mike McAustin. So thank you so much for being here.
Hello, guys. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us both.
Oh,
It's our
yeah,
pleasure.
absolutely. This should be fun because we can interact with both types of, two different types of stories here, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's go ahead. Tom, will you just tell us about yourself first, and then we'll start there.
Well, I married to my wife, Teresa. Her family has been in the area for generations. It's Dr. Lou Tadone is her dad. And the best thing that ever happened to me was meeting Teresa in a class taught by Mike's wife.
Wow.
Yeah.
My wife set him up. It was a whole setup from the get-go.
I had no idea
I
that's
didn't know
right.
that.
Well, either
So
did I.
where did she get the caramel recipe? That's what I want to know.
right?
Well, I want you to know that I had a very unhappy wife this morning because she found out
That you were coming here?
coming here today. She goes, I never made the caramels. Why didn't you tell me this? I said, oh, Teresa, I'm so sorry. So do not be shocked if you see caramels sometime in your future
she's
then.
so
Oh, no
awesome.
problem.
That's
We-
awesome.
we love her. She's amazing.
Yeah, so met Teresa, and we have two children, Clark and Grace. Clark is now an administrator at Arroyo Grande High School.
Wow.
And Grace is a teacher down in San Diego. And I thought we had done a better job than raising two future teachers.
Teachers, hey, we love
There's
it.
nothing wrong with
And
that.
my
Love
wife's a teacher in Santa Margarita, teaches first grade there.
Awesome.
And I'm going to brag a little bit, but she was the teacher of the year in in Atascadero a few years back. And one of our ex-principals is now the superintendent
He
there,
is.
Tom Butler.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great.
We got
yes.
to take Ryan's books up to Tom. We did some readings up there.
That was fun.
It was definitely before
Before
COVID.
COVID, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Mike.
ahead.
Okay. Well, I've been up here in Arroyo Grande since 1982. Came up with John Huss back from Glendale Hoover. Actually, that's where Tom and I first met. We coached together back in LA. We were actually roommates back in 79-ish.
Yeah.
Something
Well,
like
I
that.
was
You guys have
A
known
long
each
time
other a
ago.
long
We
time.
go
ago.
back a long, long way.
18
Wow.
and 19.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was 19
Okay.
when we started coaching, and came up here with John. Met my wife, Michelle. She was actually my teacher at Cal Poly, and we started dating after I took her class, and
And
got
obviously,
married.
yeah.
And eventually, we she was the one who set up Tom.
That is
yeah.
funny.
She actually, my wife's good friends with Tom's sister-in-law, Teresa's older sister, Missy, and she had said, "Oh yeah, there's a." My wife said, "Oh, I'm teaching this class," and she said, "Oh, I'm going to take it because we can go up to pay scale, and I've got a sister, and she's looking, for a guy to date. She needs somebody." And my wife goes, "Oh, my husband, he got these football coaches. Well, I'll get a couple of them in the class. We'll get them set up." And
This is hilarious. I had no
Yes.
idea.
Wow.
No idea.
And so I
she's
just
held it against the McAustins since that time.
is that right?
uh-huh.
There's a finder's fee kind of in there, right?
I said, I'll get the football coaches to sign up, but after that,
It's all.
it's all on you, man.
It's all on you.
so
She said, well,
It's all
she
on
said,
you.
maybe we'll have to go and have beers at Spike's or something after, class. And I said, you want me to invite football coaches to go have beers at Spike's? I said, that's no problem. I
That's
can,
not an
That
issue.
one I can land for you, and
That's
yeah.
awesome.
But
That's great.
married since 1987. We have two children.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's the year I graduated high
Yep,
school.
That's right.
Okay, and I got married old, so that'll just add a few more years to that, Steve. I have a daughter who's married, lives down in Orange County. I'm a grandpa. My grandson just turned 1. Just had his first birthday party, and so that's been a lot of fun.
That's probably such a joy.
Oh yeah, being a grandparent, skip being a parent, go right to grandparenthood. That's what I say.
Right?
If you could do it,
I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And my son Matt lives in Austin, Texas, and sells medical devices and back there and things. And so he's 29,
That's
and
awesome.
he's single. And so and my wife retired in 2018. I retired in 2017. So that's where we are
Retirement.
today.
I love
retirement.
it. I love
And
that.
you were a teacher, coach, and assistant athletic director?
Yes, I was the assistant athletic director. I did a lot of different things. I was the social studies department chair.
Oh.
I think I had to do laundry on weekends. there was a lot of things I was doing down there.
Yeah,
Like,
a lot of hats you had to turn.
And so
Okay, so the next question I think is let's ease into this. And how did you meet Ryan? I'm sure each of you have a different separate.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
First of all, before I even start then, I wanted to make sure that I would be remiss if I did not say to both of you how incredibly impressed I am with what you've done, taking an absolute tragedy and making the best out of an awful situation. Teresa and I have talked many times about just how impressed we are with a lot of people talk about faith and commitment and strength, but you guys have lived it.
Thank you.
And as a parent, we know it's your worst nightmare.
It is your worst
It's your
nightmare.
absolute worst nightmare.
It is.
And what you guys have done, taken this tragedy and made it something that is to be dealt with, looked at, but overcome.
Well, thank
So
you.
I really wanted to say that
Thank you.
from the bottom of my heart. And every time I go by this road, it is bittersweet for me.
Oh, I bet.
It's bittersweet because I look at it, but it's sweet in the way that I'm able to revisit a lot of those things. Hopefully, we'll talk about today. So
The sweet memory.
Yeah.
and that's ultimately what you're left with.
That's what you have to, that's the hope you have to hold on to.
Yeah.
And it's because of our faith in Jesus Christ that we are doing what we're doing.
Well, it's obvious. It's obvious
and-
that you walk the walk.
Well, thank
So-
you. It's tough. I mean, it is really, really tough because now what Ryan has set up for us, we deal with cancer every single day. We deal with loss every single day. And then, we lost Danelle just a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And, that hurts because Ryan chose her to be on the board. So there's a lot of pain that we have to go through. And, you attribute it, and I've said it time and time again on the podcast, and it's my mom's analogy, and I love it, but it's like being an amputee. You still live, but you learn how to live without that limb. And life still goes on, but every day when you wake up, you're missing that limb.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. And it's hard to believe it's been 5 years.
I really can't believe that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
But I really did not meet Ryan. I met you two first. I don't know if you recall. So it was back to school night, or one of those silly things we do in the high school where you sit in your classroom and you wait. Sometimes I'm the Maytag repairman, or I'm just sitting there for
Right,
hours doing
for hours.
nothing. But you guys had come in
Oh.
and introduced yourselves, and you said, I never knew how prophetic this would be, but as a freshman, you said, my son's Ryan. He's going to be playing football, but he loves baseball, and he's going to be playing college ball one day. And we know this. We've seen him play. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, interesting. Okay, well, telling the football coach, and I'm thinking, okay. And then I met Ryan playing football, and the joy that he had was infectious. So I remember him in that setting, and it's kind of like some people look at drudgery and some of the more mundane things you do. Ryan absolutely reveled in those moments. And so I remember meeting you two. I said, they may be onto something. Yeah, I could see that happening. So it was kind of like an extension through you to Ryan.
Interesting.
Wow.
Interesting. How did you meet?
He was a freshman, and I was a varsity assistant at the time. And we used to, on Thursday, sit over there on the visitor side and come out of our little shack there. And when we finished practice, we watched the freshmen. And I remember Ryan as a freshman, and I remember how physical he was. And I said, that guy's going to be a player. And after the game, I went to the locker room to say something to him, And I said, hey, at 17, I didn't even know,
You didn't even know his name.
I didn't even know his name. And I said, I like the way you play. You're going to be a good player. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I don't know how much more I'm going to play because I'm going to be a college baseball player, and that's really my sport. I'm not very good at this, or something along those lines. It was very kind of deprecating, as I'm really not that good in football. And I said, well, I beg to differ there.
Wow.
And I said, you do have a future playing in high school football. And I said, if you're going to play college baseball, that's a great thing. Keep pursuing it and things. But don't give up on football quite yet, because I think you can be a pretty darn good player.
Wow.
And that was the first interaction I ever had with him. And he said, yeah, I'm not going to play. So.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Yeah, it was funny. It was
And mind you, okay, let's go back to that freshman team. We didn't win a game. We went one game. They were, I don't even know what they were doing out there, but
I got to say that one game was awfully impressive, though.
yeah. I think it was Lompoc.
Really?
I think that was the Lompoc game.
One game.
One game.
Yeah.
One game. Yeah. So we got to talk to Hartman and Fields a little bit, and Fields was his freshman coach as well.
Yes.
And so and he's like, yeah, we didn't win one game. We won one game is what we It wasn't good. It wasn't very good.
Yeah.
So we just thought, oh, this is just going to be how it was going to be the whole time, all the way up. But it didn't.
It changed.
It changed.
It definitely
It changed for sure.
Right. So I didn't actually coach him then until his senior year.
I can't believe that.
Yeah. So I was going to get out of football. I was the assistant athletic director. I was doing a lot of things, and I knew, my time was coming to an end. And so I told Tom, I said, after that year, 2012, I guess it was, and I said, here's the deal, Tom. I'm going to go down. I'm going to work with the freshman staff for a couple of years. Stephen Field had moved up. I said, I'll give you a couple more years. I'll kind of work with that staff, kind of show them the ropes a little bit, how to do it. And then I'm going to back out of football. I'm just going to be the assistant athletic director. I'm going to teach, and I'll be finished.
You'll be done.
I'll be done. And so then 2 years go by. I mean, I would still go to varsity games. I was on the sidelines. I'd watch people playing. And then, so I told Tom, I said, after the second, I'm done. And he said, okay. He goes, but we got to meet tomorrow about this. And I said, okay. So I come in the next day, and he goes, you can't quit.
It wasn't an option.
Wasn't an option.
Yeah, he goes, you can't do that. He goes, we'd had a couple of good years with the freshmen that were coming. He goes, we got some really good kids coming up. Our senior team's going to be a good team.
Yeah.
Give me 3 more.
Give me
So you're
3
ready
more.
to quit, and you go with.
Here's something ridiculous. He was doing freshman football, and guess what he was doing? Working Saturdays, working Sundays, putting all these hours. I said, what's the difference? I said, do it on the varsity, you do it on the freshman. It's not like you're working any less. Yeah. And I said, the kids are going to benefit.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line.
And that was definitely true. I mean, there's, the people that worked at Arroyo Grande High School worked. And so, where I thought, okay, freshman will be easier, not all day Saturday, not all day Sunday. And you can ask my wife. It was all day Saturday. It was all day Sunday. The iPad was not a good invention.
Yeah.
Well,
As
especially
football
not for coaches.
Yeah, for coaches,
Yeah.
it meant you could be almost anywhere with an iPad looking at film.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Well, it was the same thing with baseball, batting cage films,
Right.
pitching films.
Right.
I mean, that's what,
I still help out with boys golf some, and last week I had the iPad out,
gosh.
I'm filming swings, and it's stopping kids, and it's like, okay, so these are the things, and it's
Exactly.
just it just completely it changes the way you coach.
That's awesome.
The visual's really something.
Okay, so so Ryan does make it to varsity as a freshman. He was I guess you guys made to CIF. This is the year that Seth Jacobs and Garrett
it was your
Owen-
championship year.
It was your championship year. So Ryan's a freshman here, and he goes up.
Him and Jordan and quite a few of the good freshmen you pulled up along with the sophomores and everything else. Didn't see any playing time, but he was on cloud
Absolutely
nine.
not. So cloud nine because he got a number. Because there was enough jerseys that he got a number. So that was important to him. But I remember very vividly because him and I had deep conversations in general. I don't know if just because I was the mom or what, but he would tell me things. And one of the things he told me is that I don't know why they asked me to come up because all I do is I'm just like a tackling dummy. Like he's 13 years old, 14 years old, and they could pick him up off of his feet and throw him to the side. And they did it. And he's like, so that's what I'm there for. I go, okay. How's that make you feel? He goes, well, I'm doing what I need to do. I go, okay, whatever. So do you guys remember any of that? Any of Ryan's stories as a freshman?
I'll tell you, specifically of Ryan, not exactly. However, I will say that year, the kids we brought up, JV kids, Ryan, that they helped us become a championship team, and I'll tell you why. We played Chaminade that year,
Yeah. I
and Chaminade had 4 different distinct offenses, and a lot of what they did was no huddle, and this is when everybody was starting to go no huddle and hurry up. And so what I was able to do then is take good kids, and we had 2 offensive huddles going at one time. And so I was doing scout team offense to help the defense out. And so I would talk to the scout team offense, the one huddle, and say, this is your play. And as soon as they went out there to do the play, I was then talking to the second huddle of kids, and I said, this is your play. And as soon as that other play was over, they went out and ran a play. And then the other kids came off, and I told them what the next play was. And so we had
Just constantly changing it up.
and no rest for the defense. So by the time it got to the game, it seemed easy to them. Oh my gosh, they're actually slower than what we thought. And it was only because we had quality kids who were able to simulate that kind of thing. And so I really believe that played a major role in our ability to win a CIF champion. That and the fact that we had good players. But
That was a remarkable year.
yeah,
That was a good run. But and I also think that a lot of times, and that kids don't understand that. But I think looking back, they will after they experience varsity and they play. Is that the way we practice, the tempo we practice at, our expectations as we structure things is different than lower levels, as it should be. You know, as they're introductory, you step up. And so for us, it's a time for them to learn. This is the way we do things on a regular basis. This is the expectation we have of our players. And these are the times when you're going to be doing things. And they think, oh, no, I'm just getting thrown around and everything else. And they don't realize they're getting better at it.
Well, they were kind of getting thrown around. There was Weinrich. There was,
we had Hunstead. He was not a little guy either.
They pick him up with one hand and move him out of the way.
Yeah. So there was a little bit of that, but not too much. And I got to say that it was a fun time. And it's one of my favorite times is when we go into the playoffs and we bring up the young kids and just to give them a taste of what it should be like. And I always enjoyed seeing them and seeing the awe. And then as the cycle ran through, then Ryan was the one doing that kind of mentoring and that kind of, okay, this is how we do it.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure. Sure.
No, it was a great program.
It was a great program. All right. You have any questions right now? As I don't want to get into the diagnosis right now.
Okay. So let me finish with a football story.
Okay.
So Ryan is, we've already talked about his enthusiasm.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Matter of fact, sometimes he would just have a hard time containing himself. And I don't know if you remember him at all as a defensive football player, but he would jump into the line, jump back out.
It drove us nuts as parents because he'd just be back there bouncing.
Like, what is
Well,
he
good.
doing?
Then you and I had something in common.
Oh, yeah. I'm like,
So-
just wait for it.
So I brought him aside one time. I said, okay, Ryan, could you do me a huge favor? Just not do that so much. And I told him a story about a football player who I once had who would jump in and out. And he thought on an extra point, this was a good idea, that he was going to distract the kicker by waving his arms and spinning in the air.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's...
This was not Ryan.
This is not Ryan, but he's jumping in the air, spinning, and they fake the 2-point play and run a play. Well, he's busy doing his spinning, twirling to see the play, and they ended up getting 2 points.
Oh.
And I remember I talked to the kid after the play. I said, could you do me a big favor and maybe not spin anymore?
Right.
And so I told Ryan this story. I said, I don't want to have this conversation with you. Could you please just... And to the best of his ability, he did. But he was like one of those horses that the gate was keeping them in, and he was just being held back. And boy, when that gate would open... he would fly.
He had some of the best sacks because of that, because he was able to breach that line.
Absolutely.
You
There was nothing that was going to hold him back. Once he got an angle, that was it.
Yeah.
He was one of the best football players I've ever coached at being able to recognize, see it, and attack a seam that was given to him. And how many times did he have a play for a loss?
Right.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And run plays.
Yeah. Liberty was one of his best games for losses.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was an interesting
So
game.
I have to admit, at this point, it was me that told him to move around.
Oh.
Because I just knew, and we touched about this a little earlier when we were chatting about him being in such a structured environment that the more you kind of let him go, there's kind of a fine balance. And I remember saying to Tom, I'm going to have him move on his alignment a little bit, because he was a defensive lineman. Right, he was on the edge. He'd be an edge rusher, is what they'd call him today, and so he would be on a tackle. Well, depending whether he was inside the tackle, head up on the tackle, outside of the tackle, determines a lot of their line calls when when the offense is making a play, and so the whole idea was, I don't want them to have any idea where Ryan was going to go, which is pretty easy because I had no idea where Ryan was going to go.
Exactly.
So most of the time for me, it was when there was a call, it would be, okay, so when the ball gets snapped, you have to be able to get to this spot.
Gotcha.
So wherever you want to start from, go right ahead. And so, okay, we're going to do this. So first defensive series, he goes out, and the first play, he's kind of dancing around the position. The next play, they break the huddle, and I'm like, where's our head end? Right? Where's Ryan?
he at?
Where's Ryan? And he's standing back near our safety, like 12 yards off the ball. And I go, what's he doing? Tom, on the head, Mike, what's Ryan doing? I don't know. But I think he's disguising things here, Tom. Okay.
I said he should not disguise it so much. I don't recognize it.
and so we had to kind of put a few parameters on.
Yeah.
You can start anywhere you want.
But not 12 yards
Not
back
12
off the
yards
ball.
deep. I mean, literally in that first series, he started 12 yards deep. The next time he was on the opposite side of where he should have started. So all of a sudden, it's like we've got nobody on the weak side. And it's like, where's Ryan? And he's standing next to our other, edge rusher on the other side. And I'm like, sure enough, the guy starts cadence. He starts going to the other side. And everybody's going, what's he doing? I'm going, okay, well, we'll have to chat when he comes off to the sidelines here a little bit about
it. It was really interesting because when we were talking to Coach Fields, he had an explanation of the whole reason. And that's the craziest thing is that, oh yeah, this guy jerked here and his eyes went that way and this. And he goes, he had this explanation once he calmed down and he could breathe a little bit. He had the full on, just the intuitive mind to go from where he was supposed to, where he was and where he ended up being.
He actually told me when I went through that story about the guy, he goes, "Don't worry, Coach, that'll never happen to me." He goes, when I'm doing this, I have a purpose to it, and I'm looking at him
And you're like, okay.
I have a purpose to it.
Kind of when he does it.
It's the big plan.
Yeah.
But he always wanted to know why we were doing things, so that as we were going,
Go ahead. Sorry.
that's okay.
We need to take a
Can you
pause.
just pause it? Okay. Sorry. I didn't.
What's the number that's on it?
We normally do this in
No, just
in a little studio, but we did because there's two of you. We did Fields and Hartman's here, and it turned out great. We were all excited. We're like, this is a great setup, and of course, you have the reality of
Reality.
It is a great setup.
Yeah.
I like
Great
it.
setup, yeah. And in there, it's like a little bit.
It's right there,
like a
right in front of you.
closet, basically, and that we normally use, and it's great for sound and all that other stuff. But
do you remember where you were?
Yeah, I think so.
thanks.
Okay, no.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
So one of the things that Ryan, he always wanted to know why we were doing things.
Oh yeah.
So why do you do it this way? And it was great insight because you would start to find out how his mind was thinking about things. And he wanted to make things as simple as possible. It was like, well, that seems like a lot. Why don't we just do this? And you go, okay, let me think about that a little bit. And it was interesting because he would always be, so we do this, but why? And many times he'd look at it and go, okay, that makes sense.
Right.
But as he
wanted the why.
He wanted the why of things were going in. And I know that with baseball,
He was the same way.
constantly interrogating, Brad about,
Oh, yeah.
hey, why this?
Right.
Why that? Why not this?
Right.
Well, because he was a student of the game. And so if he studied it, this is the way they do it in the big leagues, or this is the way they do it at college, but we're doing it this way. Why?
Why?
Why is it so different than the way everybody else does it? And we've heard that time and time again. Once he understood, he had complete buy-in. Okay.
Yeah, he goes,
that's what we got to do.
That works. And that was part of it. He would understand what he was supposed to be doing, but he didn't understand what everybody else was doing. He'd say, okay, well, we would like you to do that, because he basically wanted to go anywhere he wanted to make a claim, which for the most part would work for us, as long as within certain parameters.
Right.
And so it would, once you explain to him, well, because this person's doing that, we need you to be here.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
that
think
makes
it
sense.
worked better his senior year when he took over for Grant as a middle linebacker. Is that what it was?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah. Because he was that's when you could really see him bounce around, and it was just kind of like, oh my goodness.
Plus, he was confident.
Yeah.
So he was confident in himself, in what he was supposed to be doing, what the purpose of it was. And so with that confidence comes the ability to play with a bit more abandon, which is what makes someone good. The more you think, the less natural you're going to be, the less athletic you're going to be. And the more you just know it intuitively because you've done it and done it and done it.
Right.
Have you had a player like him?
I have, but I want you to know that Ryan was probably the best at maintaining an absolute emotional pitch while still being under control, which is unusual because normally when you play with emotion, your reason, your thoughtfulness kind of get put on the back burner.
Sure.
But Ryan was able to maintain an intense, high-level energy with still being under control.
Wow.
Which was, to me, what separated him from most of the players I've ever coached, is that normally you get one or the other. It's unusual to be able to have that emotion and still play within a framework, a team framework.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Which was, and like I said, I just enjoyed watching him play. Do you remember? Of course you do. He was, as a senior, what was he doing on weekends during football?
Baseball.
Baseball. Mm-hmm. And I want you to know that there has been no other player that I have ever coached that I would have allowed to do that.
Wow.
Absolutely none.
Yeah, because we missed your Saturday practices.
Saturday practices. And I had always said that it's very difficult to serve two masters. And I said, but knowing Ryan the way I did, knowing how he left nothing. I mean, he was fearless out there on the football field.
Yeah.
Fearless.
Right.
He wasn't maintaining, trying to protect himself for baseball. I said, Mike, I would have to be the biggest idiot that God ever put on earth not to allow him to do that, to follow his dream. While also, I got to tell you, selfishly, we were a better team because Ryan was on it. Wow. And we had teammates. Sometimes kids would look at that and resent that, right?
Right. Right.
Never happened.
Right.
They loved Ryan, and they knew that when he stepped on that field, there was no other thought other than doing his best at that time. And you saw it in his baseball play too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But we saw a lot in the fall. Do you have a favorite like football story about Ryan?
There are the memories I have.
I mean, I know there's other stories, but
yeah. As far as football, I got to say that it was kind of unusual for him. We had mentioned the Liberty game.
This is when he got kicked out.
No. Now, why would you bring that up,
I thought we were going there. I thought we were going there. I'm sorry. Well, wait.
No. Ryan never got kicked out of any games. Well,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, no, it was Liberty game where we were terrible underdogs.
Yes.
That's right.
I don't know if you recall this, but they were supposed to be the best team on the Central Coast.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And
that was one of the best football games.
Best football game. That was when he got that great interception.
Okay, so that's what I was going to.
Yeah.
But so Ryan is out there, and we just went ahead to score. But this is a quick strike offense, and Ryan is doing his dancing, doing his oh geez, and then. Of all things, because I can't remember him making an intercept before. Now,
he had 3, but but this one was just at the perfect time. It was for the win because we had just gone ahead.
Oh yes, trust me.
And it sealed the deal because
And so, have you ever listened to the tape of that?
No.
Okay. So, and it's
I didn't know there was a tape.
Oh, it's on there someplace. Trust me, you do that.
I know that I've seen the pictures.
Oh no,
we
no,
have the video.
Oh, I'd love to hear the.
Yeah, no, there was an audio, and what's so funny is that Ryan picks this, and he's running with the ball, and you hear someone say, "Get down, get down!" And then shortly thereafter, Ryan
slides.
He
slides.
He literally
and so
slid.
it was kind of like. It must have been projected through this. I'm kind of laughing, but I mean, what a great moment for that club. And I really think that kind of set the stage for the year.
Sure.
Because that was early on.
It was early game.
That was a second game.
And he also, if I remember correctly, I don't remember if it was, that interception sealed the game.
Yes, it was.
So it was early on. He had that tackle for a loss.
Yes.
in the almost back to their end zone,
End
or
zone,
our
right.
end zone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well-
Oh yeah, that's crazy. Oh, there's 2 football stories I would like to bring up. One where he got kicked out of the game.
Okay.
So do you want to go there? Do you want to do that one?
Well, talk to the assistant athletic director about that.
Okay, so my story goes, I didn't know anything happened because it happened on the opposite side of the field. So I really didn't see it happen. He was a junior at this time.
I believe so,
And
yes.
we were playing Lompoc. And Lompoc is always an intense game because Tawas were on that team and they were really, really good. And I think that you guys always had told them, like, what they're like and you know how to play with, against them.
They're very chippy.
And don't let that get to you. So anyway, of course, I didn't know he came out of, the locker room and wasn't playing the second half. And I was thinking, what is going on? Like, are you hurt? And I didn't get a lot of information out of him, but I was like, Steve and I are sitting up there going, oh my gosh, should we, what's going on? Obviously found out after the game that he was kicked out and could not play the rest of the game and could not play the game after that, which was devastating to us as parents.
To all of
and
us.
then, because integrity is such a big thing for us as parents and for Ryan, and that's what we instilled in him. And then I'm like, he got kicked out for doing what? So obviously I contacted Porterfield and I said, I need the video ASAP. And he's like, well, I haven't even started it. I'm like, I think it was like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. He sent me the video. I think I looked at that thing 100 times, Steve and I both, looked at it. And it obviously, I'm going to say that he didn't really, he kicked his leg, which therefore they said he kicked. So that was the reason that he got kicked out. So do you guys want to elaborate on your side of the story?
Go ahead, assistant athletic director. You were the one who spoke to mom and dad, so I'll let you handle this one. I'm just I'm a lowly coach. That's all.
Yeah, but this one didn't appeal it either. So, but that's okay. That's okay. I was okay with it all.
Yeah. Well, I've been known for my good relationships I have with officials
Oh,
throughout my career.
I didn't know this.
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I didn't have a good relationship with them. Yeah, that was it. I didn't have a real good relationship with
That was
officials
probably what it was.
on the sidelines. And so I remember when he was kicked out, and it was for kicking after the play. And the CIF rules, Southern section, you're out of the game. There's reports that get made by the officials.
By the officials, that's what it was.
The officials make a report, they turn it in. You're automatically suspended for 1 game for
Right.
being kicked out of the game. And then there has to be a meeting between the parents and administrative staff for corrective action. If there's other games that people get kicked out, then the penalty gets extended further.
Exactly.
And so and we've had this happen several times throughout our career. Obviously, as long as we've been doing it, we've had kids thrown out of the game, and it gets down to being judgment calls. It's like a pass interference call or something, where you look and go, man, that's a terrible call. So then the question becomes, what can you do to correct that? And what we had found was that if we appealed, it generally meant that a player had to sit out several games because the appeals in Southern section took a long time, because then they interviewed the players, the referees,
Right.
administrators.
Right.
And so our head coach, in his infinite wisdom,
Sitting beside
determined
you.
it was best not to appeal
right.
because we didn't want to lose Ryan for a month of playing.
The other thing is that intent. You know his intent.
Right.
I know his intent,
They don't.
but they don't.
Right.
And so what
What difference would it make? Right.
they would have said, did he kick his foot? Yes, he kicked his foot.
Well, his foot came off the ground,
but-
and that was good enough for them.
At what was his intent?
Right.
Right.
And so it was their determination. It was
exactly.
a malicious attempt to kick a player.
And mind you, Ryan was on the bottom. The guy is 250 pounds. maybe
Yeah,
Certainly.
he's a big boy.
250 pounds.
He was
Okay.
bigger than Ryan.
Way
Definitely bigger.
like 50 pounds bigger,
And
maybe.
it was always and this was always the debate, because when someone gets thrown out of the game or you even get a flag for something like that, if you ask the official, did you see the whole incident?
No.
The answer was rarely yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if the answer was yes, and you said, so you saw the first punch being thrown, you saw the person in his face screaming obscenities before this occurred or whatever.
You saw the late hit to get him on the ground.
What part of it did you see? And then officials are going to back up officials.
Right.
And,
That's what
and,
we learned.
And,
That's exactly
and
what we
that's,
learned.
that
Yes.
was, and so basically you start looking at what is going to be the lesser of the evils here.
Mm-hmm.
And so where you say, okay, Ryan, here's your statement. He was on top of me. He was, it was after the whistle. I wouldn't get off of me.
Yep.
I tried to roll him off, and it looked like I kicked him. My leg came up in the air. The official version is you kicked him and he went off, and you say sign that, and he goes, no, I'm not going to sign that. I didn't kick him. I didn't intentionally kick him.
Right.
And you're saying that, and it's like, well, the official saw that there was a kick.
Right. Yep.
And so
And
you
you
end
could
up
see
in
it
that
on video.
moment.
You could see that on video. It come up and the whole 9 yards. You can't hear him barking in Ryan's face, but you can also see like when Ryan was able to get up, he puffed his chest out to try to come on, man. Like he was egging him on. So you saw all of it, but it was interesting because we learned a lot in the process because I didn't realize that the officials are the ones that wrote it up, because I was like, when I had to go sign this paper, I said, I'm not signing that because it was not accurate. And the Dwight McDonald, I'm going to just call him out. Hey, anyway,
He's in Tennessee now. He won't hear
but
it. Don't worry.
He may
It's
be
a
on
long
this
ways
next
off.
week. But anyway, he's like, I need you to sign this because if you don't sign it, he cannot play every day that you don't sign it. Like he can't practice, he can't do this, he can't do that. And so, I was like, I need to talk to my husband because I'm not going to sign something that I felt was false. Ryan felt was false. So it was a lot of educating us about the whole situation and trying to talk me off a cliff because I was literally like, what is going on? And what do you mean he has to miss the Napomo game? So, and I made it very clear that he was not in trouble. He didn't do anything wrong, but he was bummed that he couldn't be there for because he thought, I'll be there. I'll be the support. I love my team. And that wasn't even an option. He wasn't even supposed to be on the premises, and that killed him.
That's true. He can't be in the stadium.
So that's why we actually took him to do something fun to get his mind off of things because he was going crazy.
Why didn't you invite me?
You were
And more than a kick, it seemed more like a flail to get out of
Yes,
it.
And it was. It was.
a
It's more like he was getting pinned.
Totally.
Have you seen me try and get off my
Yeah.
back? That's how I do the same thing. It's like kickstarting a Harley.
He says this now. Where was he when it really mattered?
Yeah, exactly,
Mr.
right?
Athletic Director.
Yeah, it was honestly a great, I want to say great experience for us as well because we learned a lot. And I know that I was very passionate, let's say that, because
Holly, you were passionate.
I was very passionate about it because
someone like you.
Yeah, someone like me.
Shocking.
Because football was not his, he said passion of sport, and how he played in baseball. So I was like, oh my gosh. So if he got kicked out of a football game and in the same year got kicked out of a baseball game, he would have been serving 5.
It would have been
Like a
yes. It
suspension
would have been
for
like
5.
a month then at that point. I think it went to
Yeah.
And that's how many
6 weeks.
baseball games,
That's your season. Basically, it becomes
Right.
a minimum of half your season, and if it happens during the season, you lose almost all.
Right.
done.
And Brad Latchman is the coach at this time. So we're like, this might be an issue. So my concern was valid, I feel like. But once Steve got in, he's the peacemaker, and he's like, okay, we're going to have to sign this. We're going to have to do this.
Thank you,
We're gonna have to
Steve.
move one.
I
But
just
there's-
didn't want it working its way out to
Working its way
3-4
out. He's
weeks,
the
and then
sound
Right.
mind, he really is. So it makes it good.
But that's one of the powers of sports though too is the learning lessons that you have and where you're dealing with bureaucracies and
Right.
and sometimes you're
Right.
there and you're saying, man, I can fight this, but it's going to take me years
Yeah,
and
and
decades.
is it worth
And
it?
what's the value of
They're good life
results?
lessons.
And
They're
that's
great life lessons. And it was also good but because I wanted to know that you guys were on my side, because that was it. Is I was like, are you on my side or are you not on my side? But it was nice that you had said, I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Just sign the paper.
But we need him back on the field.
So we need him on the field. And so I got it. I understood it. And maybe that's where Ryan gets it.
I want you to know, we were not happy with.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
But you guys ended up doing really well at the Napoma game. If I'm not.
Well, okay, there you go.
See? Well, you guys ended up.
It was that great foresight by the head coach to be able to understand that would.
Yeah.
That was going to work.
Yeah, it was going to work well.
That had to be it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I've said this quite a few times, but shortly after Ryan passed away, I found a letter in his room from a college, and I don't remember what college it was, offering him a football scholarship. And he had never brought that to us because that wasn't what he wanted to do. Baseball was on his mind. Did he ever share that with you guys?
No,
I never heard about him being offered by anyone. I remember telling him, if you want to keep playing football, you can go to the next level.
I talked to Ryan about that. As a matter of fact, I said, I know what your passion is. I'm just saying, is there any interest? Would you have any interest? Because I'll reach out and do what I can. And he says, not really, Coach. I said, okay, good enough.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was good enough for me. And I knew what his passion was. And it's what's a tribute to him is that I knew what his passion was, and yet he never shortchanged what he was doing with football.
Right.
Never. Not once did I ever feel like, ooh, he's saving himself or this. Not once. And so in that moment, that was the most important thing to him. And how many people could say they live for that moment?
Oh, he did.
Right? And he lived.
Yeah.
He lived now. He lived in the now.
He really
not. He had an eye for the future. He talked about the future, but when all that was said and done, it was the now that was important.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Which is crazy. Yeah, because not a lot of they just don't.
Not a lot of adults can do that.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
And yet I think that he had that balance. What I loved about Ryan was how much he supported other kids in whatever they wanted to do.
That's right.
And so I mean, as the assistant athletic director, I was at almost every basketball game, volleyball games, and Ryan was a leader on campus as well as in football. Where he was designated a talent and a captain and certain responsibilities that go with that. I just remembered that from football, you'd go in and you'd watch a volleyball game and people would do what Ryan said. And Ryan would have a great time. And he'd be doing stuff and jumping all around and getting excited and stuff.
Yeah.
But if things started getting out of hand and you said, hey, listen, we got to knock this off, Ryan was the first one to go, okay.
Yep.
Here's the line.
I get it.
Here are the parameters. Let's live within them and get them done. But other kids in other sports, I mean, he wanted everybody to succeed and he wanted everybody to have fun.
Yeah.
Right.
It was almost like take it serious, but don't take it too serious.
But he knew when to be serious and when not to be serious. So the other football story, I don't know if I should bring up, but I want to because it was the Paso game. Paso game that we lost.
I kind of remember that.
Okay.
That was a hard loss.
It was a super hard loss. It was a junior. He was a junior this year. I believe he was a junior. And minutes left in the game. I mean, not even minutes, seconds left into the game. And he knew that we were going to lose. I think Mikey Gutierrez was the quarterback at the time, I think. Do you remember? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Well, yeah, there are a few of them, but...
we were in Paso. Ryan collected the whole defense and told him, had some words with them. And I still, to this day, don't know what those words were. But I've heard that just super powerful. And I think you guys went into the locker room, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you had apologized. And he said, I never heard Goossen ever apologize, but I'm taking this loss. Like, this is my loss. But he wasn't, is this ringing a bell?
Oh, it was at Paso.
Okay.
And I could tell you the whole lead up to it, but I won't bore you. But my wife will tell you that I literally did not sleep that night. I spent my time in the garage for 2 days, and I could not, because I felt I had let kids down.
And he didn't feel that way at all. Like, he was so like, this was like, he knew when to encourage those guys.
Yeah.
He knew when to lift them up and encourage them and to make them feel better about themselves in a hard situation. I don't even know what he said to those
He should
guys.
have taken them home with me then. I could have used that.
It was really.
Would have helped out.
Right?
We
Do
just
you
kept-
remember the game I'm talking about?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
because Ryan made a play it was like the second series of the game. They drove down and they had the ball first and goal at like the 2-yard line.
Yes.
And he went inside on the tackle.
Yes.
And he hit the
Remember
guy in the
that?
backfield, took the ball from him, and we got the ball to 5.
Yeah.
I
Drove
remember
down
this.
from the length of the
Yes.
field
Yeah.
to score.
Yes.
No, I don't remember that game. But that one completely goes
But that
Honestly,
was-
I remember losses vividly.
Oh, okay.
Any loss I remember vividly, and I could tell you almost play by play by play. It was a curse where I would literally, it'd be like a videotape playing in my head. So as I would try to go to sleep,
Over
that
and over.
video would just
Your
be
mind wouldn't
playing
shut off. Yeah.
and just would not shut off, and literally for 2 days.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much. This has been a long podcast.
Yes.
So we are going to split this one in 2 and come back next month with a continuation.
Awesome.
So we'll
Yep.
have part 2 next month. So I'd like to thank Nate Han, our studio engineer, and Tom and Mike. Thank you for being here. We'll pick this up next month. So for all of our supporters, thank you very much. And remember, attitude is everything.
You've been listening to 17 Strong. Victories don't come by accident. To be part of the show, make a donation, or request more information, go to 17strong.org. That's SEVENTEEN strong.org.